Okay, so we've been using double equals to do the equality comparison in our if statements and for Boolean expressions. But comparing two strings can get a little bit tricky. So we're going to do it a different way using the dot equals method. So to do that, I'm going to create a new file and I'm going to call it equals, and I'm going to use a capital E. Make sure you use a capital E if you're going to call it equals. Otherwise, our class name might interfere with the equals keyword. And yes, I want to change the file extension, so you should have a text file called equals.java. Now let's drag that into Notepad++, and we'll start public class equals. There we go, and then create our main. And we'll open that up. And before we go any further, let's go ahead and import the scanner method. So import Java util scanner. And we'll create our new scanner object. So let's start by entering one word. So we'll prompt for user input, and we'll just say enter a word. And the other side, we'll create a string, word1 equals keyboard.next. And then we'll create a second one, word2, and we'll just set that equal to word. And then we'll just do a simple equality check, and we'll print it out. So I'll go system.out, print line, and I will say word1 equals word2. And that's a simple equality check, and it should print true false. So let's go ahead and run that, and I'll enter a word. And I'll make sure it's exactly the same. So I'll say word, and it prints false. So I have to figure out why they're not equating to one another. So remember that this string is not a simple data type. It's actually an object of the string class, and it's called word2, and it holds the value word. And this is a separate object, word1, and it holds the value of whatever I put into the next from the scanner. However, it's not exactly equal to word. So when I run this check, it will automatically throw false. But if I had here, instead of keyboard.next, if I had word, you can see that it throws true. And that's because they're actually both referring to the same string. So what you need to understand about the double equals operator is it checks to see if the object on the left and the object on the right both refer to the same object. They're not checking for equality and value. And to check equality and value, we want to use the dot equals method. And that is a string method. So we don't need to do this for numerical data. And dot equals is a method of the string object. Remember that strings are objects, and most objects will have one or two methods that we can use on them. String has a bunch, and we'll cover those in a later chapter. For now, we're just going to focus on equals. So string has this, so our string object is word1, and it has this method called equals. And we're going to use that to actually check and see if these two string objects carry the same value. So we're not just checking to see if they refer to the same object anymore. We're actually checking to see if they carry the same value. So I can actually change this back to keyboard.next. And if I run this again, and I say word, you can see that it now throws true or returns true. And we can use this dot equals method whenever we're comparing strings in any kind of a Boolean expression. So even if we're using like an if statement or trying to return true or false from something, we can use it either way. So to give you an example of what I'm talking about, let's make it really difficult. Let's take these and we'll make them both keyboard.next, and then here if word1 dot equals word2, and we'll go system print line, the words are equal, and I'll put an exclamation point on that. And let's just do else, because we don't need to use a not operator there or anything. We only have two things. Words are not equal. So let's run that. And I'll put in word for both. And you can see they come out equal. So you don't really need to understand all of the complexities of this right off the bat. You really only need to understand a couple of simple concepts. Number one is that when you declare a string, you're not declaring a primitive data type the way you would with like an int or a double. You are actually declaring an object. So a string is an object that has methods and all that good stuff. And even though we refer to whatever the text is that's coming in here, or I could put word here, right? It does not equal this value. Java just lets us write it like this for efficiency. But what we're actually doing here is creating a string object called word2 that holds this data. So when I have this equal to word and I have this equal to next, even if I put word in for this next, word1 and word2 are still not referring to the same object. So we can't do an equality check on these two on the basis of the double equals, which means do these two things refer to the same object. We need to do dot equals so that we can check to see that they hold the same value. Now the double equals always works for numbers, no matter if you're using user inputs or anything else, because a number is always a number. So if something's equal to a 2, it's always equal to the same 2. All the 2's are referring to the same 2's, all the 1 millions are referring to the same 1 million, and so on and so forth. So they're always going to work with the double equals. So in short, what you need to remember, especially for the AP exam, is that you just use dot equals for strings, and you use double equals for numerical data unless otherwise stated.